Welcome back to the Henry Hudson Hour. Today's guest is my friend George Oberg, making his return to the show. The last time George joined me, we covered everything from history and collecting to politics and the stories that have shaped his life. Since then, quite a bit has happened. Today, we're talking about lessons learned, changing perspectives, current events, and how relationships in society have evolved over the years. George, welcome back.
Hi, Henry.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah, we just had a delicious lunch. We went to our favorite Vietnamese restaurant called NG Cafe, right? It's so good. I highly recommend it if you're in Austin. It's a little bit out of the way. It's super far north, kind of out in the suburbs.
Off of Palmer.
Yes, but it's worth the drive for sure. I highly recommend it. I'm currently sipping on my Vietnamese coffee. And I got like a turmeric pancake that was stuffed with tofu. It was so good. And George had a banh mi with pork belly. So
it was delicious.
Yes, they make great tofu. Everything is made from scratch. It's really good.
And they bake their own bread for the sandwich for the banh mi.
Yes, that's really awesome that they do that. It's been a while since you've been on the show. What's changed for you since we last talked?
Well, the last time I was on, I had just gotten a pair of porcelain pieces, Sev. And this is probably boring to the general public. Porcelain. You know, you think you've got to be out of your mind, breakables or something, but I love it. And so I've always wanted to have an 18th century, a period piece from Sev. And that's spelled Sevres if anybody's interested in looking it up. But anyway, so I bought them and then I bought them online, and then I found out pretty quickly that they were not really 18th century. And so since I've been on, I've been dealing with getting some refund on that and trying to make that right.
And what first made you believe that they were authentic?
Well, the mark, the Sev mark, and then they have letters that signify the years. And so this one had a letter, I think it was like maybe an F. And that was like 1771. But when I got it on the metal work, on there's a engraved France, country of origin, and they didn't start doing that until the turn of the 20th century. So the earliest it could have been would be like 1890. So that's kind of a ways off from 1771. So, yeah, red flag.
Oh, man, I'm sorry about that. But, I mean, if there's still turn of the century, I guess that's still...
Well, they're still antiques. They're still 100 years old, I believe. And they're beautiful. You know, but I paid way too much for them, probably...
Right. I imagine there was a mix of disappointment and frustration. Was it the money that bothered you the most, or the feeling of being fooled?
I don't really care that much about, being foolish. I mean, I am a foolish person. I mean, my choices and stuff, a lot of people would consider, unbright, maybe. I don't know where you want to spend your money. And, but, I don't know. I talked about this, like these bragging rights that you've got something that, that could be like a museum quality piece. And I probably should have known better. If something, that whole adage, if it's too good to be true, it probably isn't true. So that kind of turned out. But, I got hopefully refunded. I'll have to check my credit card account whenever it comes in.
Right.
And
You eventually recovered part of your money, right?
hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, I hope so for your sake too. Looking back, do you think having everything documented through text messages made all the difference?
Well, yeah, that you've got it's like a paper trail, sort of, So it was, it wasn't like it was like sometimes you'll see these online things and they don't specifically say they'll say Sev style. They'll say. Well, they won't specific. They won't get themselves boxed in, like I said, these legalities of false advertising or bait and switch or something like that. And I don't know how this happened, but it did. I mean, I usually am not. I want to buy things. I want to see it, mull it over, have a second opinion. But for some reason, I rolled the dice on these and hoping for the best. But I like them. They're beautiful, So and I'm sure they're at least 100 years old. So they're antiques, but it really changes the whole value thing. And then that whole thing about put these marks, I don't really understand, but I guess people just did this, trying to fool people into thinking something was older than what it was.
Wow. Has that experience changed the way you'll approach collecting in the future?
I'll be more careful.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard when you order things online. I've had the worst luck ordering jewelry online. I ordered an amethyst ring, just like this one, the same style, just with an amethyst. And first, they sent me a silver ring, and I paid for and ordered a gold ring. And of course, there's a big price difference between silver and gold. So I messaged them, and I said, "You sent me the wrong ring." So they said, "No worries, you don't have to return it. We'll replace it at no cost and send you a gold ring." So 6 weeks go by, and I finally get this other ring in the mail, and it's not the right size. It's gold, but it doesn't fit me at all. So now I have 2 amethyst rings, and I can't wear either of them because one is silver, and I don't wear silver. I only wear gold jewelry. And the other one doesn't fit any of my fingers. I mean, I can maybe squeeze it on my pinky finger, maybe, but it would look terrible on that finger anyway. So,
well, that's probably the reason they sent you the silver one. They didn't have the gold one in your size, and they just it was not a great experience. You have to be so careful when you order jewelry from Etsy. There's some really wonderful jewelers on there, but I've had some great experiences, and I've had some really bad experiences ordering from them. This ring is actually from there, and it's great. I love that ring.
Yes, it's my birthstone citrine. I was going to wear a topaz one today, but I couldn't find it. I don't know where I put it when I took it off last night. Because that's my other birthstone, topaz. But I had a goal of collecting all the birthstones. I wanted one ring with each birthstone in it. And I have not accomplished the goal yet because I have purchased so many rings from Etsy that the stones have fallen out of.
Oh.
So it makes me very weary to continue my quest through Etsy because the quality is so unpredictable. Some of them turn out great, like this one, and last for years, and some of them just fall apart right away. My peridot stone I lost because it fell out of my ring. Then my tennis bracelet, the clasp broke, it fell off, I lost it. Then my aquamarine ring, the stone fell out of, but I didn't lose the stone. So I still have the stone, and it's huge. It's like a big, big aquamarine stone. and it's really gorgeous, so I can get that one reset. But it's just a big pain in the ass.
It's amazing how stones can fall out, that happens.
Oh, I know.
And, yeah.
You would think that, I don't know what they do to get them in there. I mean, surely they don't use glue. They must, I don't know how it works, but I will be paying an actual jeweler a visit soon. I have plans in September. I'm going to replace my tennis bracelet. Now, my sister found out through work that they have really beautiful ones at Swarovski. Swarovski?
That's crystals.
Yeah, they have really beautiful ones at their outlet. But yeah, I don't know if I want one that's crystal. I'm not real stones. But we'll see. I'm gonna take a look at what they have.
Well, you still love jewelry, and I still love porcelain,
right?
So these unfortunate, these misadventures, and then also the whole online buying stuff. I think everybody's kind of addicted to it. I mean, it's. What did we do before Amazon?
I know. Well, it's so easy to order stuff online, especially things that aren't necessarily easy to find. Like I order a lot of cosmetic products on Amazon, and I try not to use Amazon for everything, but I also get all my supplements online, and I take quite a few supplements every single day. So that's a lot of orders right there. It takes a lot of pills to keep me going. And I don't know. I don't know what we did before we could order things.
Well, I know because I'm old enough. I remember you did without, or you went on the hunt.
I mean, I remember not being able to order things online, but I was a child.
Well, yeah, there was, like I said before, all that stuff. There were like catalogs and stuff that people would do a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, my grandmother, she would order all our Christmas gifts from catalogs. I remember that for sure.
Some people just hate to shop. Oh, yeah, it's amazing how many catalogs that people would be, getting in the mail and I do love to shop though.
So one thing I know you've been excited about is that the lake is finally full again after years of drought. Lake Travis here in Austin, or just outside of Austin, is 100% full for the first time since the year 2019. What was it like seeing it come back after 7 years?
Well, it just restores your faith in nature. All these dire things that she'll, if you let the information in, it's pretty scary what's going on with the climate change and I don't know, like heat waves and places that didn't, you never would think would they be that hot.
Heat waves in Europe they have been having recently. And what was crazy about this round of storms, we had about 5 days of rain here, and it actually did not rain very much in Austin City proper, but just a couple hours outside of town to the west of us in the hill country, which is where the water flows into the lake from, they received 20 inches of rain over the course of the 5 days that it rained. It's
a miracle. But then, at what cost all the flooding and stuff, the damage and stuff that was done. But good for the Highland Lakes. They're in good shape. They called in
a 500-year flood, and what's interesting is we had the same thing happen last July.
Yes.
So speaking of climate change, it's very unusual in the first place for us to get heavy rain in July. We get most of our rain in May and October. During the fall and the spring. Summer is usually pretty dry here.
I I remember though some August sometimes that would get
A lot of rain.
a lot of rain. Yeah,
I do too. I remember a few. It is El Nino, so it is supposed to be rainier than average, but
yeah. I can remember times whenever it was thinking, oh my God, is it ever going to stop raining? You know, that it would rain like you're in the tropics or something. Just this steamy and everything would be. Well, it's kind of like now. I mean, my yard is like very unbelievably grown with all the rain we've gotten. Yeah.
I do remember one summer when I was a kid and my grandmother and cousin were in Hawaii, and it was getting hit by a weak tropical storm or like Category 1 hurricane while they were there. And it was ironic and funny because at the same time that was happening there, it was just raining and raining and raining and raining in Austin. And the creek in her backyard was flooded badly, really badly. And I think it like washed out the bridge that she built over it. And it was really bad. And I was funny because I felt like I was in the tropics, even though I wasn't with them, because of the weather here. And it was in the middle of summer, but I don't remember what year it was. And I know it was during an El Nino. I remember that, but it must have been, I mean, I could look up the years of El Nino, but I don't know. Let's see, past El Nino years. If I can guess from the list, not that it really matters, but it occurs every 2 to 7 years. Let's see. 97, 98, 2002, 2000. Okay, so I thought it was 2003, and it says that was an El Nino year. 97, 98, 2009, 2010, 2015, 2016. 2002, 2003 as well as those years were El Nino years. So that's interesting. And I didn't realize it happened every 2 to 7 years?
I think that's what you said, yeah.
Yeah, 2 to 7 years, huh?
Well, it's amazing, the lake, how low it can get, where there's these islands and trees popping up, and you're thinking, wow, you know, it's really sunk down. Kind of shocking.
Right. The last time I visited the lake, and I genuinely went there just to go to the lake, it was very, very, very low. Like the water was so receded. People's docks were above ground. There was no water around them. And it wasn't that long ago, to be quite honest.
So that's you know, reassuring. So we're okay for a while here as far as like the water supply for the.
Right, and one thing I wanted to mention, I know I discussed this on a past episode with my sister, but I did read that some of the rain did fall upstream of Lake Corpus Christi, so it should help with their water crisis as well, but it said that the waters wouldn't reach the lake for a few more days because they were coming from so far north. So I don't know what river flows into that lake, but that they have a big problem down there. Let's see. You've also been reading quite a bit lately. You recently picked up a Walter Isaacson book about the writing of the Declaration of Independence. I know you had mentioned to me it was a gift, but what drew you to it?
Well, I'm a fan of his. I can't say that I've read any. He's written a lot of best-selling books and stuff, but he's a scholarly. He knows a lot, and so anyway, this little tiny book is breaking down, you know, kind of word by word the Declaration of Independence, and
was there anything in the book so far that surprised you?
Well, I mean, you can kind of go into the whole hypocrisy of how many people that were slave owners that were involved in that whole Constitutional Congress and the people that were like Jefferson.
Right.
He had I think he had
10 slaves or something.
Oh, more than that. A couple hundred maybe.
Yeah, I guess so.
And then also he had Sally Hemings, who was his mistress.
Right.
But he had I think he had quite a few children with her. And then George Washington, he had a bunch of slaves. And and then also the fact that women were not really included in these. It was just all this thing about the wording, and so now looking at it, you can kind of see where people that were like really originalists, it's kind of like their interpretation of like the Constitution, like the Supreme Court and stuff, and people saying, well, the original intent was different, like whenever you're talking about amending or the idea of that document evolving and a living document. And so if you think, well, originally, they really weren't giving rights to everybody, that all men are created equal was kind of not really what they were doing.
Right. And do you think that history becomes more interesting as you get older? I don't know. I always loved history since I was a little kid, so.
Oh yeah,
I've never been able to relate to people that aren't interested in history. I think people that say it's boring are so weird.
Well, they're lazy, and it's the challenge of learning stuff. I mean, I think there's this huge problem right now of people that are just resistant to learning anything. I think that, I don't know if the pandemic had something to do with it, but evidently there's a whole lot of people that have not learned they're functionally illiterate. They can kind of cheat through school with these AI things. Just ask your phone, get a synopsis, and it will, read it to you, that you've got a voice, so that you don't really, then in a nutshell. So it's interesting, how clever you've got to be to kind of take these tidbits and turn it into an essay or, I don't know, but you don't really, but like the facts and stuff or the memorization stuff that used to be like with history, right. There were lots of dates and context and stuff that was involved with.
Oh yeah, of course. And in history, it's so dependent upon the context of the author who's writing it, what their perspective on what happened was, it's.
So my minor in college was art history.
Right.
So that's a whole different kind of a, it's history the same, but talking about the because you're learning about what was going on during the time period and stuff of the, Baroque or Renaissance or medieval or
right.
There's a context of what was going on. And
mine is geography.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I took a humanities class one time, and it had a whole segment in it that was on art history, and it was really hard. I was surprised by that. I thought it was going to be an easy class, but it wasn't. It was not an easy class.
So it was the Introduction to Art History course?
It was called Humanities 1, and it had like a segment that covered philosophy, a segment that covered art history, a segment that covered, a couple other different subjects, just an umbrella class of different things that were considered humanities, I guess.
Well, so have you taken like a general art history class?
No, I haven't. but I took that course, and it was interesting. But yeah, I've already completed all my history requirements, so I didn't have to take very many history classes. I had to do U.S. History 1 and 2, and then I think I took U.S. History 3 and 4 as electives, but that was it. I haven't taken in college. I took Texas history as well. That was required when I got my associate's degree because it was at a college here in Texas. But that's all I've taken in college. I took world history and European history in high school because I went to private school, so they offered that. But
I don't think that they necessarily even teach it in the public schools that much.
I don't think they do either. Because I also went to public school and they did not have that as an option. You've also been paying close attention to politics. What has been on your mind lately as we head toward the midterm elections?
Well, I feel like we are at this very dangerous point here, and it doesn't seem that, I hope that I'm not. I don't think I'm alone in this worrisome type of thing, but we need to get the balance of power. Somebody that's going to hold the executive branch to account, because obviously the Supreme Court's not going to do it.
Right,
And
the Supreme Court is a joke now.
Well, yeah, and the corruption is just that it's been normalized somehow or another. People say, "Oh, well, that's what they always do," and I'm thinking, well, maybe, I hope not, but these reforms need to be
right. People
enacted, and the only people that are talking about that are not getting elected. It seems like.
Right.
So
people tend to blame both sides, and there's clearly one side that's worse than the other.
Yeah, but the other side's complicitous in it.
Yes,
like I said, this whole thing about, how the powerful interests that basically kind of had the say-so about change being affected. I would like to believe that the collective consciousness, and maybe that's just like buying my 18th century porcelain, that you're dreaming that enough people, and I really do believe that the majority of people want democracy and don't want a theocracy foisted on them. And
right.
That's kind of what's happening, it seems like, and what was it? They passed something here in Texas. We're speaking about education, where they're going to teach Bible study in the public schools. I'm thinking, are you kidding me?
Yes, it's outrageous. And they have to display the 10 Commandments in classrooms.
The 10 Commandments.
It's outrageous.
I went to the Blanton Museum last week, and maybe I'm veering off, but it's kind of like on the same topic. And so they've got a really great collection, the Suida something, it's Suida, I can't remember anyway, but it was, something that UT bought a long time ago, and it's got all these Baroque things and lots of religious pictures and stuff. And so I was looking at one picture, and it was Lot and his daughters. So Henry, did you ever read the Bible? Do you know the story of Lot? Do you know?
I don't. Can't recall that particular story.
Well, Sodom and Gomorrah.
Right. Yes.
Okay, so Lot and his family were, I guess, I'm trying to remember what the whole deal is. There's all sorts of interpretations of it, because lots of times the fundamentalists will use that as an anti-gay
story,
because God got mad and he wiped him out. So anyway, he told Lot and his wife and family, don't look back, get the hell out of there. But his wife looked back, and she turned to a pillar of salt. That's like a really famous. So that was her
Okay,
punishment for
yeah.
looking back, that you weren't supposed to. So Lot and his two daughters, got out of there and took refuge in a cave. And then his daughters thought, oh, well, there's no men left. God wiped them out. So they got Lot, their dad, drunk, and both had sex with him.
Oh, wow.
That's in the Bible, so I'm thinking, wow, and then this painting kind of like triggered this because, well, I in fact have read the Bible, and what a memory I have, but that all just kind of came back to me, and I was like thinking, like I read this when I was like in the 7th grade, and in the Bible speak, it's laying. They say that they don't say sex, but
right.
They've got these other terms and stuff, but. Oh my goodness, and then King David, how many wives did he have?
Oh, I know he had quite a few.
Oh, yeah. This whole idea of multiple, anyway, the Old Testament, whenever I read it, is kind of like,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
He had 8 wives. Michal, Ananoam, Abigail, Maacah, Haggith, Abital, Eglah, and Besebda. Or Besed.
Well, yeah, and then if you're an animal lover like we both are, every time they turn around, they're killing some poor sheep. This animal sacrifice thing. I'm thinking, good Lord,
it's so weird.
Every time it's always some kind of that kind of stuff going on, and then like the flood,
right, the Great Flood.
Yeah. And
I watched a documentary about that did some research on it, and they concluded that it probably was a real flood that happened in the Caucasus region, like around Armenia and Georgia and Azerbaijan nowadays, those countries. And they said that I think didn't they find evidence of the Ark? It really
supposedly
in some iceberg or something.
There's some evangelical shrine thing where they've actually rebuilt the Ark.
Oh, ridiculous!
And they've got it's kind of like an attraction thing, and going, oh my goodness, and they've got all the fake animals and stuff in there, and it's like, well, I don't know. Like I said, it's like all these different things with the Bible before they had printing presses and stuff. So I guess it was like, an oral history and stuff, or maybe they had scrolls, the stuff.
Scrolls, because I know the Torah was written on a scroll.
Yeah. So these things are all very perishable types of items and stuff. And so these stories get passed down and what are you to believe? But then back to the whole thing about the founding fathers, that supposedly most of them were deist, that was the term, that they weren't. I think maybe John Adams was a Unitarian, but those are all very different kind of takes on where you're believing that there's, that there was some sort of creator, that there was some kind of a force that did all of it, but then you're not really so sure about all these biblical things, and then the other thing I was wanting to discuss that I remembered, that I don't think the Jews believe in heaven or hell.
No, they don't. And in fact, it's kind of optional. Some do and some don't. So
how can it be optional?
Well, it is. So most Jewish people don't believe in heaven or hell, though. Some of the very, very conservative Orthodox Jews do, but most Jewish people don't, as far as I understand. Yeah. And
Well, that whole
Kabbalah,
idea of eternal damnation,
reincarnation.
think about it, eternal damnation. Wow.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
crazy. I
It's
don't
so,
believe
it's so
in
SM.
heaven or hell, that's for sure. I've definitely had some strange supernatural experiences in my life, though, I will say that. So there's some weird energy out there, but I don't know what it is. So you've mentioned that the controversy surrounding Tallarico may actually have strengthened his campaign. Why do you think that happened?
Well, because it's just so outrageous, that I think most people that are sane, that aren't haters, that aren't homophobes and stuff. So number one, if you're an involved person, why shouldn't somebody that's a gay man like Pete Buttigieg be president of the United States?
Right.
And yet I'll hear people say, well, I would never vote for him. And so if you say, well, why is that? And it all leads back to this thing that he's gay.
Right.
They don't want to say it. It's kind of like people that haven't been able to get over Barack Obama being elected president. I mean, they were just freaked out that there were 8 years of they're haters, and they want the pecking order to stay intact. And I guess they figure that's the only way they're going to get ahead. And then the problem is to keep, if you're not allowing things to evolve. I mean, I think it's kind of like a natural thing that what is it they say, that history leans towards justice or something. Martin Luther King said some kind of something to that effect, but it takes a while. But then you got to fight. It's not
Right.
it's not going to be handed over. It was like John Adams. Whenever his wife Abigail famously, this was in this thing too, but it was also in that Ken Burns documentary, and so she famously said, "Don't forget about the ladies." Well, of course, the women couldn't own property, the women couldn't vote, the women couldn't run for office, and so anyway, he said something about that the men were not going to give up that advantage, and so it's really the truth. People have an advantage. Some would say the ability to cheat legally, and say, well, that's just the way that it is, a cultural thing. And so all these constraints on women, which I had hoped was going to really change the world back in the women's lib days, and birth control and abortion rights and
Right. One topic you said would make for an interesting conversation is how relationships have changed since the 1970s. You mentioned things like birth control and changing attitudes toward women and how they transform society.
Well, yeah, women were oppressed. And so all these different things about the glass ceiling, which still exists, and women making less money, which is, I think, still kind of a fact. I mean, in a lot of areas. And so if you are not a person of means, you need to make some money. So then it's once again like all men are created equal. When they say that men and the thing, well, it's a collective thing. It's talking about men and women. It's talking about humanity. But then if you're talking about fairness to be able to support yourself, that for the longest time it just wasn't possible. That women had all these constraints on employment, and say, well, women can't do that, or the childbearing thing, saying, well, you might, if you have kids, you're gonna be your loyalties are gonna be, that whole you can't be a good parent, but they never say that about the man. But
Right.
But like I said, these double standards and stuff, and so basically, for all that to change, then society has to change. And so, if there's this collective consciousness saying yes, women should be able to, well, like I said, Hillary and Kamala, but then the truth is in, the jury is not out, and they did not. The women did not rally behind them. They would prefer a pussy grabber, and why, and so, and I think it's because that for a lot of women that they want that's they would like to have that old set thing about having a man that's earning the money and they can raise, that's what they would like to do. But of course, economically, that's harder and harder. Most of the time, it takes two people that are working to make ends meet. And especially like right now, I'm kind of thinking, unless they cheat like crazy, I think there's so many people that are hurting economically. I mean, my God, you were just at the grocery store a few days ago. Can you believe the prices?
Oh, George, I spent $150 and I did not even buy any food for myself. All I got were some like medications, over-the-counter medicine. I got some cat food, liners for the cat box, some sparkling water. What else did I get? Some flowers for the house. And that's about it. And it was $150. I was like, what the hell? I didn't even get food. It's crazy.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's
the prices right now are.
Can you imagine people that have got a family?
And I did put actually an article in the news packet that relates to this about the cost of living in Austin right now. So do you think younger generations experience relationships differently than your generation did?
Well, I think like I was talking about my friend that he's in his 40s now. So basically, I think he's it seems like he generally does not date women that are his age, but that are most of the time 20s or maybe but they're in that area. So he's not like robbing the cradle with teenagers and stuff. But most women that get to that age, they're not interested. They are more serious about wanting a partner, right? And so they will size up people pretty quick. And so anyway, this woman said to him that he was cheap. That was the word that he, so which is kind of a put down, which is kind of like so you think, well, what specifically are you cheap in? What way? They used to tag women, say, well, she's cheap, meaning that they were like sexually
a slut
or something like that. That was like a put down that way.
But then also it could mean that he's not very generous.
Well, or what are you expecting? So once again, if you're like how things have changed, is that the man always paying? That this picking up the tab that you it doesn't matter what the resources are. If a gentleman goes out with a lady, and you get a coffee or you get a something to say, oh, let me get that. That it's just this sexual courtesy. It doesn't even mean that you're having sex with the person, that it's just you're deferring. And it all went back to this time-honored thing that women were at a financial disadvantage. Like I said, back talking to the Declaration of Independence and how women were not included in these protections and stuff, so it was just assumed that their protector was their husband, their father, that that you were a second-class citizen, basically, so there were saying, well, women can't do this or that. So this whole evolution back to the collective consciousness of women's liberation and all these brave women that fought like crazy in the. Well, like I said, the vote didn't come until 1920. Was it 1920 or 21 when the women got the vote? Think about that.
I think it was 1920.
So the suffrage didn't even take place. Yeah, it was something. It was in the 20s, I think. But I mean, they had to like do all kinds of go to jail. And
August 18th, 1920.
1920
is when the 19th Amendment was ratified to the Constitution that declared the right to vote cannot be denied on the basis of sex. Yeah. Not very long. Women have not had the right to vote for very long. And yeah, you would definitely expect that women would be a more reliable voting bloc for these female candidates.
Well, you'd think so. And then also the other thing about reproductive rights, that for the longest time, Henry, it was against the law for doctors to prescribe like a diaphragm birth control, and, before they had the pill and everything. And so if some woman said, I really don't want to get pregnant yet. And what can I do? And the information wasn't even out there. It wasn't like you could, like in the 1920, get on the computer and look up something. People didn't know. And so this thing about being trapped and being pregnant every time you had sex, horrible, just ridiculous. And so you're really kind of like stuck. And then, like I said, then back to the thing like with employment and stuff, that how the men just kind of ganged up on. There was a very interesting documentary about a woman. She was German, I guess. And so she was into solar power. And this was like back, way back in the 20s and 30s. She moved to this country, and then I guess she got a job at Princeton or Yale or Harvard. It was one of those Ivy League schools. So basically, but her main study was this thing about having solar. Think about that. That's going on 100 years ago that she had people that were talking about this. And she actually came up with some house that was like a prototype thing, that was all done with, renewable kind of stuff.
That's really cool. I recently read a really fascinating story that
and it was a woman that was doing this.
Texas produced so much solar energy the other day. 60% of our electricity was solar powered, of all of the electricity we used that day. And if people recall back not too long ago, just a few years ago, we had a horrible crisis here due to Winter Storm Uri. I believe that happened in 2021 or 2022, where we had a statewide power outage for several days because the power grid was not able to generate enough electricity to meet demand. And now we are producing, in just such a short time, just a few years, we're producing so much wind and solar energy, so much more than before, that now we have the biggest surplus of electricity in the country. And we're producing more renewable energy in Texas than any other place in the world now. So I thought that was really fascinating and very impressive.
Well, it's kind of like the lake filling up, that hope springs eternal. Now, I remember that freeze because my power went off, I guess on Sunday. It got really, really cold. Then Monday morning, I heard this kind of clunk, and then no power. So that was from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It wasn't until Thursday in the afternoon that my power came on. It was 32 degrees inside of my house. Everything, my car was completely iced over.
Right.
It was like I was trapped, and it was freezing in here. I mean, I'm like, people lost fingers and toes and feet and died during this thing. And then Ted Cruz, back to talking about the whole political thing, what did Ted Cruz do? Cancun Ted, he went down to Mexico to go lay on the beach.
On vacation.
Well, yeah, went on vacation, got on a plane and
the last
took
winter
off.
storm we had, he went on vacation to Orange County, California. He did the same thing, the last one we had this past winter. But that was not nearly as bad as Winter Storm Uri.
So basically they vote for this creep, liar, hypocrite. And then the guy that was the Democrat that was running against him, they painted him like, said, oh, well, if you elect him, he's going to let boys into the girls' bathrooms, and he's going to, then everybody's going to be having sex change. You know, I'm going, do people actually believe this? And then it all goes back to this homophobia.
I always say it's funny when they say that that things in the environment influence sexuality, because I wonder then why there's any gay boys or lesbians after all the straight stuff that we're exposed to.
Well, that's the indoctrination that you get from the time you're born.
Exactly. So it's funny. I'm like,
that's
it's
the
funny
indoctrination.
Yeah, I think it's funny. It's ironic that they think that gays are indoctrinating children when we're indoctrinated by straight people so much from the very time we're born. I mean, just think of all the Disney princes and princesses and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, boys wear blue, girls wear pink, yada, 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 yada.
Well, yeah, this whole thing about gender conformity is strictly enforced. And if you don't believe it, go into the kindergarten. You start getting into a group situation, kindergarten, first grade, the public schools, and it is strictly enforced. And once upon a time, you know, if you couldn't or wouldn't, you were you're punished. You know, you had to suffer the consequences of your inability to. Well, like I said, if you weren't a sports person, you know, like not everybody can pitch a ball, and I don't know. I never really had that ability,
yeah,
or inclination, and I tried. You know, I mean, they put me on like a little league thing, and you know, it scared the hell out of me whenever there was a ball coming at me. I, going, oh my God, you know, I mean.
I played soccer, and I hated it, but I was actually pretty good at it because I run really, 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 really fast. So they always put me in the very back. I was a right defender because I could run to the opposite side of the field faster than anyone else on the team. So I was actually good at it, and I also really enjoyed the game Capture the Flag. I loved that game, but other than that, any other sports, I was terrible at them, except for running and soccer. So I hated sports always, all sports, except for soccer, because it was the only one that I was halfway decent at. And
nobody played soccer when I was a kid. It was all
right.
Football, baseball, basketball.
Yeah, I'm terrible at baseball. Usually tall men are not good at baseball. Baseball is like a short person sport. I don't know if you've ever noticed.
Basketball either. I just couldn't.
Yeah, I'm terrible
myself.
at basketball. I have no upper body strength. That's the thing. All my strength is in my legs. So I'm great at anything with kicking or running, but I'm not good at anything with upper body strength. I can't throw. I can't catch. I'm just I just hate sports. Everyone at work has been so obsessed with the World Cup. And I'm like, I mean, I guess I should be more interested in it because I played soccer for many years, but I just couldn't care less. I just really don't care. And I guess it's down to Spain versus Argentina. I think that's the final game. I mean, I was impressed the U.S. lasted as long as they did in it, but other than that, I just really don't care. They kept playing it at work we have a TV at work. They kept playing it on, and everyone was watching it and talking about it all day, every day. And I was like, this is just so boring.
Well, I'm back to Tallarico. I am hoping and praying that he has got the stomach for this, because who was that guy that ran a couple times? What was his name from El Paso? Beto.
Yes.
And I was so disappointed in him at those debates, because I thought, wow, you can't
Oh, I'm nervous.
Go for the jugular about.
You see the debate for sure. Because Tallarico is such a nice guy. It's hard to imagine him doing that. He's just genuinely a very nice person.
I know, but he's telling all these uncomfortable truths.
Right. He is exposing them. That's for sure. After everything we've talked about today, from collecting and history to politics and relationships, what's one lesson that's been reinforced for you this year?
Well, that family and friends are the most important thing. I love stuff and collecting and going on the treasure hunt and everything, but your most valuable possessions are not your possessions, but your friends, and your and it's worth it to stay in touch, to go out of your way to nurture friendships and to care about something and like talking about the environment or the lake or something like that. And, I've had people that look at me like, well, are you crazy that, that somehow or another that like, well, what can you do about saving the environment or something? And well, you can care about it. I mean, that's where it all starts, is that you have that that desire to.
Right. Well, there's little steps that everyone can take, like recycling and conserving water and other little things like that, or power conservation.
Well, but I think number one right now is getting Donald Trump out of office and constraining him, because he is undermining all these different things about the environment. I mean, that's just what's happening.
I just read a news article that just came out that he is going to allow drilling in environmentally protected areas.
That's right, yeah.
Which is heartbreaking and horrible.
Well, he is owned by the oil and gas interests, and he's owned by the banks, and he is totally corrupt.
Right, of course he doesn't care that gas prices are so high because they're making more money.
Well, yeah, they're making more money. And like I said, I have clients and stuff that it's very difficult if you've got investments in oil and gas and the money is rolling in. These people are getting these giant checks. And so it's kind of hard to disagree with that. And then their stock portfolios, and they're looking at it, So it's like, what do you do? Divest every stock, everything that you have that's in that. I don't think they're going to do that. It's like, give the money back, put an investment in Tallarico. I don't know. So like I said, you have one side that's going to say, well, if you're doing okay, vote for me, and you just get more of the same for the next 2 to 4 years. And
one thing I'm excited about is that when Democrats take back the House in the midterm elections, they will be able to launch investigations into Trump's conduct and uncover to the public more of the shady things he's been doing to enrich himself and his family in the office.
But Henry, the problem is a third of the country, and I don't think that's an exaggeration, are on board with him.
Right.
And there's nothing that you could say. You could even bring up this stuff. You could have proof. You could have,
it's like a cult.
And they're not gonna. It's not going to budge the needle on that.
Right,
like I said, that's millions of people.
Yeah.
That's millions of people. And then you've got a huge chunk of people that they're whooped. You talk about having some credit card debt. I mean, there's people that's a drop in the bucket. What they've got, they are so underwater. They could not sell their house.
Like I said, mine isn't terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible.
Well, think about this: having a house that you've refinanced,
right.
You could not sell it for the amount of money that it's
worth.
You're underwater.
Yeah,
and then having like those the whole way the workplace is, that people are very, it's not stable. And it's all like a contract kind of thing. So you can't really plan ahead that much, saying, well, I'm going to make X amount of dollars, unless you work for the government, basically. And so thank you, Elon Musk. And then all the women that have lost their jobs and stuff that were
right.
So maybe it was like a DEI thing, but it wasn't like all those things were just, gift kind of jobs and stuff. A lot of these things that were created to like the whole thing about that joke about him getting on and having his speech about the voting integrity and stuff. And, he didn't have any facts to back any of this stuff up. It's all old news and stuff.
The dumbest part about that is if Democrats are cheating so much, then why did Hillary lose and why did Kamala lose?
Well, exactly. I mean, he only says that happens when he loses.
Yeah, if we were cheating, don't you think that we would have won?
Well, then all the stuff
to
to make sure that the elections and stuff, there's more money that needs to be gone. And there was some kind of a voter integrity thing that they had a whole commission that was like, looking into foreign influences and all these different things that were, going on. And back when he was running against Hillary, President Obama, they came out and they said as much that there was this Russian interference and stuff that they were.
Right, in 2016, there definitely was Russian interference in the election, especially through social media. They created a lot of bots, fake accounts that influenced people's minds.
But ultimately, the truth comes out that this is still a very backward country.
Right.
And that so many people don't even bother to vote. They won't get off their dead ass and get up and vote. They want to do a mail-in, make it really easy, and they just won't. They're not interested. They don't. They're watching the soccer game. They're watching the football game. They can tell you every player that's in the NBA playoffs, but. Talking about this political race right now, there's so much hinging on this. This would be the first statewide election that a Democrat. It's just time for it to happen. And yet,
decades,
because they have like owned this state, and it is so corrupted.
Right, it's been basically like a dictatorship in Texas since like 1996 or something.
Well, it boils down to these two billionaires from Midland or something that are these two evangelical idiots, and one, fancies himself a messiah complex, and they have made a shitload of course, from oil, right. And they are like behind but you cannot get elected in a Republican primary or anything here unless you've got the backing of these two jerks.
Oh, are you talking about the Koch brothers?
No. Here in Texas, They're from Midland, and there was a 60 Minutes program. Type it in and see if you can find their names. There is two different men.
And I just want to take a moment. I know I've done this before, but I just want to remind everyone, if you go to vote.org, you can check your voter registration status. You can also register to vote if you're not registered. Everyone should check their status today if you haven't already, because you never know if you've been removed from the voting rolls by Republicans. Let me see. We'll
type in. They were on 60 Minutes.
60 Minutes. Okay.
Two Texas billionaire oil people.
Texas billionaires.
Republican influencers.
Republican influencers. Okay, let's see. Something will come up. Tim Dunn and Ferris Wilkes.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, I have actually not heard of them before, but I'll have to watch that episode.
They're under the radar, they're like, but they've made so much money, and so basically, they get behind these, and of course when they do that, they own them. And so, like I said, all this stuff about the Bible study, this one, he wants the he'll set that Project 2025, they're on board with that.
Right.
And the evangelicals, they want to convert everybody over. They feel like they're, take your medicine, whether you believe it or not. And like I said, you'll hear people say, oh, well, the founding fathers, it was all on, and that's just really not true. Like I said, reading this book, that was not really the case.
They believed
and
in
even,
the
and even if
separation
it
of church
was,
and
all these
state.
people that had slaves.
Right.
So, I don't know. But of course, that they could rationalize that because back to the Bible, lots of slaves
Right.
in the Old Testament.
Yes. That is very true. Excuse me.
Do we have anything more to cover, or you?
I have one more question for you, and then we'll move on to the news quickly. If someone listening is struggling with disappointment or realizing they were wrong about something, what would you tell them? Even if it was as silly as disappointment over some porcelain.
I don't mean to diminish people's feelings, and I know that people have, some people are very sensitive. I mean, some might say even a snowflake, and you'll hear people that are, just undone by something that someone said to them, or, and I'm thinking, well, get some perspective, on this, and look at the bigger picture. Is it really? Does it really matter that much?
Right. I always tell one of my friends, he confides all his issues into me, and I always tell him, if it doesn't matter in 5 years, it doesn't matter now, which is actually a Judge Judy quote. And I love that, Judge Judy. But
well, I'm always thinking, people that just get really, I think, well, if it's something where you might get somebody into trouble, that you're really, trashing somebody, that kind of unfairness and stuff, and or accusing somebody of some illegal type of thing, all those kind of, but just petty things. Like I said, that's a whole different thing but I don't know. Like I said, it's like putting it into a perspective and being able to let something go. Well, like I said, like talking about my friend, talking about this woman saying that he was cheap, and so I said, well, what it's really about, I would bet, is that you're not in love with her,
right.
That's it. So people, you want this intense, especially after you've had sex with somebody, and you're thinking, oh, I want this next step where somebody's, in love with me, whatever the hell that means. Mm. And the older you get, the more complicated that all gets. But if you're a woman that's wanting to have a baby, that wants to be married, and don't kid yourself, they all deep down want that, I think. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think that's a sexist thing to say. I think people, it's beautiful, I suppose. But it's not an entitlement. That's the issue, that there's this luck factor that's involved in it. Right. And so if you're thinking, well, I'm not really, it's kind of like accepting your own insignificance in this spiritual sense. In some of the Eastern religions, that's kind of where it's all about, that you kind of accept that, and it's like a relief. It's kind of takes this burden off of you, as opposed to these grandiose kinds of spiritual things, where you're actually conflating your religious faith with, maybe you think you are God or something. It's like, really kind of.
I've never understood these Protestant people that have this God-like complex, that are like preachers and the mega churches and
judging,
opulence,
yeah,
and passing judgment on others is.
Well, my big beef about it is the passing judgment on gay people,
right?
And and this Project 2025. Don't kid yourself, gay folks that are listening to this. If those people have their way, there'll be no more marriage equality. They'll put the sodomy laws back in place. And they want to drive you back in the closet. And, I've been there and done that. And believe it or not, and it is one shitty way to live. So vote.
On that note, I wanted to talk about the new Madonna album. Have you heard any of it, George, yet?
No, is it good?
It's so good. It got an 8.1 based on 76 reviews on Pitchfork. It says Madonna's back in peak form with a fresh and honest dance record that's not only her best in 20 years, but a genuinely vital addition to her canon. It's so good. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. Her last 3 albums I thought were terrible. And this one is really, really excellent. Every single song, I did not skip a single song on it. I listened to it 3 times from beginning to end, all the way through.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because, like I said, you're right. The last stuff that I've heard, I've been boring. I really was not into it. I thought, well, honey, maybe you're getting too old for this. I don't know.
This one is great, and it's went number 1, I think, in 58 countries. And her number 1 in the United States made it so she set a record. I think she's the only woman who's had a number 1 album in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s.
It's very interesting because she really, I told you, I've seen her twice live. Have you ever seen her do a live performance?
I wanted to the last time she came into town.
I saw her first tour. It's funny, the last time we were talking about Earth, Wind, and Fire, I saw her at the Irwin Center.
Oh, wow.
I think it was 1984. It
must have been 84, 85, yeah.
And it was the Virgin tour.
Right.
And so, all the production value. I mean, boy, she just, her
I think
shows
my mom went to that concert, too.
Yeah, Robin told me she was at it as well.
Yeah,
she went it was packed, so I had good seats and everything. So she had 2 male backups dancers and like a little, not like the super duper productions that she puts on now, but it was like, it wasn't cheesy, but maybe a little bit. But you could tell she was lip syncing through the whole thing.
Right.
You could tell when she was actually singing some of the slower things. There was that one song, "Crazy for You" or something like that.
Right.
And you could tell you could tell she was singing because she was flat.
Right.
So they didn't have back in those days that whole thing, the auto tuning thing, where that's not going to happen these days. That it'll fix it, But a lot of them don't even, like Janet Jackson. I don't think a note came out of her mouth. She danced through the whole things whenever she was
right. Well, she dances so much, and so does Madonna. I mean, it's all
what they do in the studio that they can fix it all.
Yeah.
But then actual live performance.
I definitely know about that because I do the audio on the podcast every week, and it's amazing what you can do with editing. It's absolutely incredible.
So basically, like, I don't know if we talked about this the last time, but Barbra Streisand, who I can't believe she's still. I love Barbara. She's been a friend to the gay community forever.
Her voice is so good,
but it's not as good. It's not like it was back. But nothing is. When you're in that whole, it's kind of like artistic energy and stuff. That there's nothing like that energy when you're young, and you focus that energy on whatever artistic endeavor that you have, and so. When she, was starting off, I mean, she sang with this wild abandon. My God, she could go up an octave and she could hold notes. And she's like a little woman. I don't think she's more than like 5'2" or something like that. She's very small.
It's incredible.
And then, but kind of like Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo are both little tiny women as well. And I think, where do these great big voices come from that they can just blast these sounds out?
Right. Well,
but I think it's this thing about singing from the diaphragm, that you've got this distinct head, chest, and these different kinds of that some people, it just kind of comes naturally to them to projecting it out.
Yes, and I know similarly.
I read someplace that Barbra Streisand can't read music.
Yeah, similarly, I know Mariah Carey's voice has changed a lot over the years because she has vocal nodules. And touring every single year for 10 years straight really fucked up her voice because of the nodules.
But she lip syncs too.
Yes, well, she does now. She
did almost from the beginning.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And she always said she's a studio artist and not a touring artist, but she doesn't.
Yeah, because she can do all these things. She can hit all these notes
It was
and stuff.
definitely live when I saw her.
But she can't sustain a performance. And she's not much of a dancer.
Because honestly, the audio I thought at the concert was kind of fucked up. Honestly, it didn't sound great. So I thought, well, she's definitely singing live.
Well, they're singing. I'm not saying that they're not singing, but they've got a track.
Right, the backup track and the backup vocalist.
Basically, there's all this stuff. So you can see sometimes where the voice will continue on, but they're not singing. And
the whole time.
Yeah, or they'll have the microphone that comes like that, these that come in front. So it's like obscuring, But if they zoom in, like I said, if it's a film thing, and you can see that they're not really projecting, because when you're actually singing, your throat, there's this tension and stuff to make those sounds come out.
And when I saw Kylie Minogue, I was right in the front row, and I thought she definitely was singing live, and I couldn't believe it. Because she seems like the type that she would definitely lip sync. But she was funny when she sang at the Thanksgiving Day parade. She was the only singer that's actually sang live. All the other ones lip synced. I mean, and it was very obvious that they lip synced. And she actually sang live, but there were definitely parts she lip synced, but she sang live most of the concert, which blew me away. I couldn't believe that.
I think another one that
sounded pretty good.
That would sing live was Celine Dion.
Yeah, not that she had the most amazing voice to begin with, but
Celine Dion didn't have an amazing voice?
Kylie Minogue.
Yeah, she had a limited range and stuff.
She does.
Well, like I said, for a lot of people that they don't really have
like 2 octaves.
They're kind of like all the heavy lifting is done with the backup stuff, know. And if you erase off the arrangement, the backup singers, the sound technician back there that the ugly truth comes out, that they're not hitting all the notes, that they're flat. And like I said, I was like, could not believe it. Madonna hitting these sour notes. I'm thinking, how many times have you sung this song and you can't do it? And they keep doing this with their ear, trying to get it to where they can see. But like someone like Barbra Streisand, she's got that, like the people that are the true geniuses with this, they've got their own auto tune that they're incapable of.
I used to have auto tune on my computer, and it was incredibly fun to work with because my voice isn't bad, but I need like vocal training, because sometimes when I sing I sound so good, and then sometimes when I sing I sound so bad, and it's because I can't control like my breath and stuff like that.
There was a guy on America's Got Talent
with auto-tune. It sounds amazing.
That you've got to see. He was the last performer. I think they'll probably, I don't know, what is this? This is Sunday, but I guess maybe anyway, he was kind of not a very good-looking black guy and kind of middle-aged or something, and he sang that song, that Billie Eilish song, that she did, I guess it came out this past year, that was...
I'm sure I've heard it a million times.
You know it if you heard it, but it's like this very plaintive, and
I don't know the titles.
Don't tell my girlfriend she's not made that. That was one of the lines in it. So anyway, this black guy sings this, and I mean, the tears were coming. It was just
incredible.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Probably better than the original, I would imagine, because Billie Eilish
hers was great though, but he
her
like
voice is
you're
good,
first
but-
thinking, is that Billie Eilish? You know, they were so funny. This guy, you know, but this
I love it when people
fantastic
cover a
voice.
song and change it up.
God, it was good.
I like people with really good voices. Like I love Mariah and Celine and Whitney and all of those R&B singers that have incredible voices.
Well, and I saw Whitney Houston perform live, and she was singing, you know,
Yeah.
and you could like, you know, I mean, you could tell she was crazy, and you know, it was like all people were calling out. They wanted her to sing her hits, and she fucking wouldn't do it. She did like a little tiny medley where she did like a snippet of, you know, a few of them. But it was like after that album that had come out, well, I swear to God, it's like every song on that second album that she had was like a top 40 hit, you know, so anyway, but she wasn't going to do it. So she was singing a lot of new material, and, you know, a beautiful girl, and so thin. Oh my goodness. Just a little whisk, kind of like you, a little skinny, little tiny girl.
Yeah.
And then she had the wig on, and she looked beautiful, but, you know, but she was like sweating like crazy. You know, she was like, kind of like reminded me of some of these, like Sarah Vaughan or something, that needed to have a handkerchief and stuff to blot her face or something. But she had a kind of a form-fitting kind of a dress on, and she looked beautiful. But you could see, like I said, this whole thing, you can see when people are projecting, you know, and that bitch, you know, she sang her fucking heart out. And I was thinking, oh my God, how could somebody do performance after performance like that when you're touring, you know, that people are wanting this, you know,
I can't imagine.
But it was terrific. You know, one of the greatest, you know, singers ever was, you know, that she had it all. She had it all, and beautiful, and what a set of lungs, and never heard her. And she could remember all these lyrics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish I would have been able to see.
And also, her
live.
diction was good.
Yes,
that you could understand. You could understand what she was saying. She enunciated.
Is so important.
She did all that
music,
and then so soulful and everything. And then, of course, I guess she was a lesbian, closeted lesbian.
Yes,
wouldn't let her be. Yeah.
So I thought this article was really fascinating. It says that weight loss drugs, which I know you have been open about taking here on the podcast, such as Wegovy, GLP-1s, Ozempic, and others, as well as Mounjaro. It says that it has caused users to spend more money than before on clothes, skincare and hair products, sports gear, games and toys, and gadgets to monitor their health. So it says that these weight loss drugs basically are helping the fashion industry.
Well, you know what, Henry, that doesn't really apply to me. So yes, I did lose some weight. You're going to lose weight because it kills your appetite. But I started taking this because of my blood sugar, because I'm diabetic, pre-diabetic.
No,
you know,
you're
it depends.
One of the people that's really on it for a real actual health
for the blood sugar
reason,
thing.
right.
And guess what? It works as far as like lowering your A1C.
That's amazing.
That was the reason that I got on it, because I'd been taking metformin and it just wasn't budging the needle on that. You know, it just stayed at this dangerously number. And, you know, you just kind of have to. So I started doing that. And I took the Ozempic to start with. And I lost some weight. But, like, you're going to lose weight because it kills your appetite. Right. I don't know how it works on your brain. But, well, obviously not today at the NG Cafe, because I've chowed down on all that stuff.
I was surprised. I think it's obvious that when people lose weight, they feel better about themselves. They're definitely going to spend more on beauty products and clothes, right? Just psychologically. But it says here, in some women's wear categories, such as jeans, 65% of sales now come from the smaller sizes 6 through 12, whereas historically, before GLP-1s came out, it was only around 40%.
Wow.
So it's really had a big impact on the fashion industry. It says UK sizes 16 through 28 have suffered a 20% fall in sales over the past 2 years. The impact has been nothing short of catastrophic, says Henny Fernley, the chief executive of London-based Beige Plus, which sells plus-size designer fashion for women.
Speaking of weight loss, have you seen Mindy Kaling? I saw her on a talk show. She is tiny.
Oh, wow. I did see that she had lost weight. I haven't seen her recently, but I saw her like maybe 6 months ago, and she was definitely thinner then. And I guess she's probably lost even more weight since then. But I haven't seen a more recent photo. So let's see. What else do I have? So I had this article about the cost of living in Austin. It basically says if you have a family that you need to earn around like $250,000 a year to live comfortably here.
I'd believe it.
If you're single, you have to earn at least $80,000 if you're just one single person in your household. And the crazy part about this article is that it says half of the people that live in Austin earn less, 50% earn less than the amount that you would need to own a home here. So 50% are basically below what would be considered a comfortable wage.
Well, I think a lot of this is by design. I think all these apartments and stuff that have gone up, it's like amazing. And you're thinking, how could there possibly be a housing shortage? What there's a shortage of is affordable houses to buy.
Right.
So, yeah, getting your foot in the door on home ownership, that's a whole different thing. But I think, the people that, own these properties and stuff, they want to have people renting. Keep you in that kind of
right. And right now, because of interest rates, renting is a little bit cheaper than paying a mortgage, which dissuades people from buying homes.
Well, I know, but this whole
more.
thing about the getting some equity in a house, but like for so many people, like I said, back to this
Building
thing about
wealth.
that they get a house, and if it does appreciate some, the first thing they do is get that money out of it. They'll get a or they'll borrow money for home improvements or something, but lots of times just get, a refinance and take that money and then.
Yes, I have a friend that recently
go on a vacation
looked into doing that, and
but they're not doing something that's going to.
She wants to sell her property badly, and it's such a bad time right now because it had been worth double the amount that it's worth now during the peak of the housing bubble during the pandemic.
But not anymore.
And so she lost, half basically the equity in it. But she wants to sell it really badly because she needs the money. It's interesting how sometimes someone's home, it becomes all they have really. In terms of wealth.
Well, this other thing, talking about what's really important, and I'm so glad that I have this house. It's like so much of my, my garden, and I just feel, very fortunate to have a home, and I've lived here for so long that it's just, it's part of me.
Yes, it says the top 10% of individual earners in Austin make at least $160,000 a year. At the extreme end of the spectrum, Westlake Hills resident Elon Musk is the richest person in the world with an estimated fortune approaching $1 trillion.
God.
which is outrageous. Michael Surrey, associate professor of finance at the University of Texas at Austin, said wealth is less about income and more about assets. You could be spending all of your income and not having anything left in assets, and that can affect your perception of your own wealth and whether you feel rich or not. Instead, he said being wealthy means being financially independent, having assets that generate passive income, being able to withstand financial shocks, and not relying entirely on paychecks.
Like your grandmother.
Yes.
Are we about to wrap this up?
I just have a couple more stories, and then we're going to wrap.
Okay.
Let's see here. Oh, I just wanted to mention the cyclosporasis outbreak. I hope none of my listeners have fallen victim to it. Apparently, it's all from one company's lettuce called Taylor Farms, which is apparently the supplier of lettuce to so many different places. It's not just Taco Bell. I read they also supply the lettuce to stores like Sprouts and Whole Foods Market, as well as other retailers, major retailers across the nation. I think even Walmart, they supply lettuce to. So it's a huge outbreak. It's hit 32 states. And I'm lucky so far. I haven't had it at all, but I threw out all the lettuce I had before I knew that it was specifically Taylor Farms that was the culprit. And I think something that I just want to say about this is that these things are bound to be happening more and more often with the current administration and RFK Jr. in place, because they've rolled back regulations on the industry so much in terms of safety standards. And so we're going to see more and more outbreaks of parasites and diseases like this from major food suppliers because of the actions of the current administration. Which
back to the midterm is so important. People get out and vote.
Right, absolutely.
Vote for change.
Always encouraging my listeners to vote. It's crazy how many people in Texas that
aren't even registered,
that don't vote. A large percentage of the state does not vote here. Let me see what it is, because now I'm curious actually what the exact number is. But I think I read that about 11% of the electorate in Texas are independents. And that does not include the people who do not register to vote or vote at all. Texas number here, let's see, number of Texas people I'm just curious now what it is exactly. So, wow, it says a historic 18.6 million Texans were registered to vote in the 2024 election, and only 61% cast ballots, a 6% drop from the 2020 presidential race. But let's see, 18.6 million. Well, I believe this state has about 30 million people. So that's not many, really, if you think about it. If 100% of people that were at least 18 voted, it would be much higher. I mean, I don't know how many people are under 18 out of that. But
so many people, their excuses and stuff, they say, well, if I register, then they'll call me for jury duty, or there's some kind of a...
Right, and just so y'all know, I've been registered to vote since I was my 18th birthday, and I've never been called for jury duty, so knock on wood. It's something I don't want to do. The overall turnout rate of eligible voters in Texas in the 2024 presidential general election was only 56.6%. So
shocking.
44%, something like that, did not vote. And in midterm elections, it's even lower. In the 2022 midterm general election, only 41.8% turned out to vote. So we do have one of the lowest voter turnouts of any state. And a lot of people wonder why Texas has been a red state for so long when all of our major cities are blue cities. And it's part of the reason is because our voter turnout is so low here.
Well, and then those two billionaires
Right.
that have like, they've that money talks in this whole thing, and they're putting people on school boards, they're putting people in local things, and that's just how it is.
Okay, I just wanted to mention one more story about James Tallarico's fundraising. He broke a record, an all-time record for any Senate candidate ever in the United States.
Yes.
He raised $30 million in the second quarter this year, and he has raised a total of $56 million overall so far since he started his campaign. And that compares to Paxton, who's only, if I'm not mistaken, raised around like 3 million or something crazy low. So because, Paxton, he hasn't raised much. Honestly, I don't think he can raise much because even among his own party, he's kind of a infamous person. And secondly, I don't think Republicans are concerned about raising as much money because they think that they're just going to win by default here.
Well, but the Supreme Court just passed this thing that the National Party they've got around this because there's constraints on what the National Republican Party can put into state elections and stuff. And they've changed that. So now they can flood money in there and they can take up the slack on that. And the whole thing went in there because of this Tallarico thing, because they're well, I don't know. I think it's inevitable that there's going to be a change in...
it's coming for sure. Even Fort Worth...
People are fed up with it, and they can this denial.
Now.
And then, like I said, but then you talk to some of these people, and they're like, everything is great for them. It's like, and they don't want to be bothered. They don't want Debbie Downer coming in and saying, well, what about these other... They say, well, they don't want to be pegged and say, well, I really don't care. I only care about my little world, and things are going just fine right now. And why rock the boat? Let's talk about my vacation coming up. That's usually the, where the conversation veers. I'm going to my second house in Santa Fe. I'm going to Switzerland.
Wherever.
I'm going to Maine.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, I have a house in Nantucket.
Love to.
So I'm going to get away. I can't take the heat here.
Places
during the summer.
Cooler than it is here during the summer. That's very common.
And by the way, did I tell you I'm rich?
Yeah.
It's
the complacency is kind of shocking that people have to me. I just don't understand how I've never missed an election since I turned 18. In fact, Emily and I are thinking about going on vacation again in November, and she wanted to go the week of election day, and I was like, I can't because I have to vote. But I guess I can vote early. I'll probably vote early.
You can vote early. Just vote early.
Yeah, I'll probably vote early. Anyway, I think that wraps up this episode of the Henry Hudson Hour. A big thank you to George Oberg for joining me once again and sharing his stories, insights, and perspective. If you enjoyed today's conversation, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me on Instagram at Henry Hudson Hour or by email at henryhudsonhour@gmail.com. Whether you have feedback, questions, or ideas for future guests and topics, I'd be glad to hear from you. The music featured in this episode was composed by John Bartman. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next time on the Henry Hudson Hour. Bye, George.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful day. Get some artwork done this afternoon.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do this afternoon.
All right. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.